Namaste and hello, Rukus Avenue Radio listeners. This is Priyadarshini G. Roy, your Rukus Avenue Radio correspondent. Our special segment today has a wonderful guest, Ms. Vasu Pawar, the founder of Step 2 Step Up, the regional vice president of the National Federation of Indian Americans, as well as a wonderful vocal community leader and organizer of the 41st Lotus Festival that happened last weekend in Echo Park, Los Angeles. Ms. Pawar, welcome to this show.
Thank you so much, Priyadarshini. It's always a pleasure to sit down here with you. The conversation is always a beautiful, positive direction. So I love talking to you.
As always. And Rukus Avenue Radio listeners, I know Vasu Auntie, as I refer to her, for over, I think, 2 decades now. So she's literally seen me, grow up from my teenage years into my pageantry years as Miss India Southern California. And she has always invited me out to perform the Indian and American national anthems at various organizational events for the South Asian Indian American community here. Most recently, where I performed the Indian and American national anthems at the 41st Lotus Festival, like I mentioned, which happened last weekend at Echo Park in front of many different dignitaries, which includes the Indian Consulate General, as well as the Bangladeshi Consulate General, among other dignitaries and community local leaders. So Vasu Auntie, I'm just going to, let you introduce yourself and share with us your amazing community leadership, since you are a part of so many different organizations as well.
Yeah, thank you again for the beautiful introduction. I enjoy serving the community a lot. And so my career was on one side and then this was on the other side. And I've joined these, I would say about 20 some organizations, being part of 20 some. I don't want to mention all of them here. We just named a few. One is Global Organization of People of Indian Origin, and I've been a life member for that organization. Plus, I have my own chapter in the Riverside area, which is an Indian Empire chapter. And I'm the founding president, and I'm currently the chair of that organization as well. And so many more to talk about. But yes, the Lotus Festival was a wonderful event. And for me, the most important thing of that organization was the collectiveness of that event. We had so many cultures together. And I always wanted to see that together. When we talk about cultures, we talk about so many things. We sort of disconnect when we talk about religions and we talk about this. But this was one event which brought all of us together, And I'm very thankful to our Consul General of India, Dr. Nagendra Prasad, for putting all this together and taking the initiative. And this was the best event because, first of all, it was 75 years of India independence. And not only that, but we call that Azadi Ka Amrit Mahotsav. So for us to take the initiative, and the Lotus Festival, Lotus is also the national flower of India. So it all coordinates together, and it's so beautiful to see all these lotuses blooming in the lakes as you saw them the other day, and then to have this beautiful festival that day. So I like the connection with all the cultures to show what we are. And instead of saying that I'm better than you, it was all of us sharing our cultures there. So that was the most important thing for me there.
I think you beautifully stated the summation of what the festival represented. While we did celebrate Azadi Ka Mahotsav as the 75th Independence Day for India, we also celebrated other cultures. And I remember seeing a dragon dance, which was represented by the Chinese associations.
Yes.
And there was a variety of mixed cultural engagement from all across different American people. And, it was wonderful to see everyone coexist, especially after the pandemic. I think that's what made this festival really unique, is because it was a 2-day event. And not only was it more of like a fair that we're used to, in the American summer experience, is to have that experience of the family fair, but also the cultural representation where each year a different country is represented. And like you said, because of Dr. Nagendra Prasad, the Indian Consulate General, was able to make sure that our country was represented for the 75th Independence Day. And I think that speaks volumes as to how Indian culture has penetrated into the mass culture of American society, and not just through Bollywood or, rose water and golden turmeric, haldi doodh, which are just now subscribing to turmeric shots, or like golden milk lattes, which I always think is so funny because growing up as an Indian American, I remember those things that I would bring to school, like aloo gobi burgers, were, considered like, what is that? And, that type of food is being sold at these fairs. And I think it's a wonderful circle of life moment to experience and be alive to witness not just the acclamation of both of our cultures, but the acceptance and just the humility that we both share with the common same values. So please tell me more about your background. And I personally know how your professional endeavors have just escalated and skyrocketed as a very vocal and strong, prominent leader in the Indian American society that we have in Los Angeles and beyond. But I would let you take over and kind of share with us your experience and your life story, if you will.
Thank you so much, Priyadarshini, again, for introducing me in a wonderful way. I started in this country, to be honest with you, as a teacher. I taught for a little bit in North Carolina. And because that was what I did in India, I was a teacher and I taught in top schools in Mumbai. And so I thought, hey, let me just kind of continue that. But when I came here, I also came with a degree in computer science because I thought that was the excelling field, And there were not too many people with that degree then when I came here, which was 1976, Hardly any people, even in the US, that knew anything about computers. So I started as a systems analyst here. I worked for a company, John Richard of California, and they did something like 2 million that year, And so my goal was, of course, to get them to a higher range. But as a systems analyst, I was managing the mainframe, the big giants that we used to deal with in those days. There were no PCs, So it was such a change for me from the big giant computers that we used to have to the PCs, which we have in every person's homerooms, So it's wonderful to see that it has spread so well. But what happened to me in that company was, I think a year after I had joined them, somebody in that company gets sick and she's like basically in a hospital, and she said, hey, Vasu, can you help me, with my financial side of it? So I said, how am I supposed to do that when I'm a different field completely, So she said, Vasu, whatever you can help me, I'll really appreciate it. So I really did that for her and said, okay, let me go to your desk and see what I can. She's in the hospital. I'm going into her office there and trying to figure out what she has done. And the owners were concerned because for the 2-3 months, they were waiting for the financials. And usually a company is very concerned about that aspect of it. And so I went there in the room, and believe it or not, in 2 days, I got the financial statement done, completely done for her. I also had the mistakes that I thought she had made. And I was about to take this thing to my boss, and my boss says, hey, what are you doing in her office? And I go, I'm just trying to help her. So he goes, you know how to do this stuff? I said, I figured it out. So he couldn't understand this figured it out thing because they knew that I was in a different field, and this is finance. Have you ever worked in finance before? Have you done this? So all of those questions started being asked to me. And then the next day, the following day after that, we had the auditors there to audit what I was doing, And so they were so fascinated that, believe it or not, that day, they made me the finance controller of the company. So now here I switched my career from the computer field into the finance. And that was never my choice or anything like that, but I didn't even know that I did so well in that field. So within 2 years, I take this company from 2 million to 26 million. So they were like fascinated with this thing. And then I realized that, hey, computer is not the only field. I'm good in finance too. All the Indians are generally speaking good in finance, right? So that's what I picked up everything, and I got this whole thing figured out for them. And since then, I was never called Vasu. I was called the lucky lady. That's what happened to the company. It's funny. So then I took many other companies like that, but I benefited tremendously because not only my paycheck was like, I can't even say where it went to. Amazing life for myself. So I learned something from that also, which is always help somebody when they ask you for help, because behind the curtain, you don't know what's waiting for you. I didn't know this big thing was waiting for me, So not only did I get a brand new car from the company, everything was like taken care of for me. So that's just a lesson that I learned. And I share that with everyone because I think it's very important for all of us to help others, So from there, I went and I have helped quite a few other companies too. And I've always made sure that I did very well for them, worked very hard. And you have to be the best. That's what my advice to all of our younger generation would be, whatever field you choose, don't do it just because you want a job and you need a paycheck. Yes, we do. But also make sure that your passions are fulfilled in there and not just do it as a job, So if you do it for a little while for job purposes to pay your bills, it's fine. But try to get into what your passion takes you, because that's where your ultimate goal will be and should be.
That's a wonderful, inspirational story, Vasu Auntie, which I have heard, but I think our Rukus Ave Radio listeners would really benefit from hearing the trajectory of your career and how sometimes being present in the moment can lead to unforeseen opportunities and a whole new world that you would have never imagined for yourself. I mean, my story of being pre-med when you met me halfway through my pageantry. I was studying health science and being pre-med, getting ready for my MCAT, and life had taken a different turn, all for the better, I believe. And now on my progress and journey through entertainment, I realize that I can balance both my education as well as my passion for the arts while still serving the community that means so much to me. And as I progress in completing my doctorate degree in the next, almost 6 to 9 months, I'm thinking more about what happens next to the next generation, because growing up, I remember it always was a choice. You either became an educationist or you followed your passions when it came to extracurricular activities. And it was always like a choice. I think it was like a dichotomy of our life that, Monday through Friday, you have schoolwork and you have to, maintain all your grades.
You're on it. Yeah.
Yeah, you're on it. And then Saturday and Sunday, it's, events, whether it's, going to the mandir or serving the community that's there with the underprivileged populations or the senior societies, or just being a part of your local community and, taking care of one another and seeing what's going on in other people's lives. And I think your work in computer science, finance, and your leadership, I think, is all about giving back to the next generation. And that's the vibe that I had gotten from you and the inspiration. And I feel like when you get a mic, everybody wants a mic, right? Everybody wants a platform. Everybody wants a stage. Some people like to grab mics as often as they can. But what happens is, the most important part is not the mic itself, but what you have to say and what you do with that and how you pass it on, because we're too little in this universe to mean everything. But what we say might resound with other audiences, and our message and our stories like yours and other community leaders is inspirational to younger generations, because we have to keep India alive no matter where we live. Yeah. And we are the global ambassadors for what India represents outside of the country. And no matter where we go and whatever fields we decide to have our extracurricular activities in or our professional endeavors in, we represent both of our Indian American heritage and cultures. So that's what I wanted to speak with you more about, going from your trajectory of different leadership skills and all these different organizations. Speak more to us about the 41st Lotus Festival. And I know you were the one to organize all the different types of community programs out there. So share with us the different communities that performed, what kind of performances did it entail, and basically what happened in the 2-day festival.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. So first of all, I was very happy that India was the primary hosting country that day. So we were the hosting country. So we decorated everything with India theme, as you had seen there. So it was India everywhere. It was just amazing, to see India everywhere. What we brought on the stage was basically our different states of India. Because what happens is that not everybody knows that India consists of so many states, and each state has its own culture actually, and languages also. I think we have, I don't know how many now, but I think we have about 180 dialects and some 80-some languages. So this is crazy, right? So through that, we are still united, and we still have this congregation of cultures together. So our dances is different. We do little different folk dances, and each of the states has something different. So it was so wonderful for us to present each state that day, and each of the dances that you saw, we could present every state there. So whether it was Bengal or whether it was the northern side of it, which had Bhangra there, we had the south side of it, we had the cultural, the music and, the history of India in our pavilion, as you had seen. The pavilion consisted of all that, the complete history of India was there. We had the artifacts, we had the millions of singers were there throughout the day, who sang. And so throughout the day, we had the singing program in that pavilion as well. And what I enjoyed the most was that everybody enjoyed that, There were so many people in the audience, and I was so fascinated because I was there until 10 o'clock in the evening. And I thought that maybe the crowd would disperse, after a certain time. Believe it or not, we had the same crowd we had when we started the program in the morning. And until the end, they were all there. And everyone there had something different to show. We had two other programs. We had at 6 o'clock, we had the SMAP Foundation, which where I also presented some cultural shows at that time too. Then we had some two or three other organizations that the Bengali organization, Dakshini, also presented a beautiful dance that day. So, this was amazing to me because there is never so many things performed on the same stage ever. So I think that where the cultures are concerned and the community is concerned, it is very important for us to appreciate each other, So I loved all the dances that were presented by so many other cultures. This was mostly Asians presented the culture and the contributions of the Asian community. But I think that when we appreciate things that are presented by others, I love to see the rap music which comes from different genres and different groups, and so I think that now if you see the Indian culture today, you will see that our kids are really developing taste for everything, whether it's jazz music or whether it is hip hop or whether it's whatever it is. And you will see the Bollywood, the Indian cultural music that used to be, it's not that way anymore. Our Bollywood that we talk about, which has become so popular now, it's not the Bollywood that used to be. What I mean is even the Bollywood is converted into a mixture of jazz and all these other music, that's available out there from different cultures they come from, right? Even in a couple of our movies that you must have seen, we have rap in there. And that was something unheard of in our Indian movies or in our songs or anything like that. So our kids are very encouraging, in my opinion. And when we talk about unity, and I'm always for unity, building bridges for unity in our cultures and community. And this is one platform, the Lotus Festival, that is the best platform where we can bring all our cultures together. It's just amazing, whoever thought of it. And this was the 41st event. And I have participated in this Lotus Festival many times before as well. So for me, it was amazing.
That's a great summary of what happened at the 41st Lotus Festival. And I'd like to mention to the Rukus Avenue Radio listeners is that this festival is held annually and sponsored by the Los Angeles City of Recreation and Parks, amongst other sponsors and donors that come together to celebrate the unique heritage that the city of Los Angeles brings. We know it's a city full of immigrants, and that has been embedded into the LA culture. Whether that's walking down the street and having Taco Tuesdays or, just the different types of Asian cultures that we see, Latin, African, just a global affair is what the Lotus Festival, I believe, represents. And that was evident in not just the cultural representation of India, but also Bangladesh, because we had the Bangladeshi Consulate General come herself. Yes. And I know the Bangladeshi associations also presented many different types of art forms. I saw Bhangra dances. I saw South Indian dances. I saw Bharatanatyam, Kuchipudi. I saw so many varieties of performances that day, not just on the main stage, but also the children's stage, which I thought was really, really unique, because most of the time at these festivals or events, you just have one main stage and everybody's trying to get on it. But I like that there was a spotlight for children's performances. Yeah. So if you'd like to speak more about what that stage was like, you talked about the main stage. So how was your experience with the people in the food stalls and the different types of variety of foods available, as well as a children's stage, and what was the interactions like?
First of all, I don't know if you know, but I got an award from also that day. This is the award that I got,
Congratulations. That is wonderful.
For
I was
my
supposed to receive
participation.
mine still in the mail. So
For
mine's
the
a little bit late in the
participation,
mail.
and also got a certificate from the city of Los Angeles. I went to all the booths and all. They were there. Amazing things that I saw there, from jewelry to everything that was in there. So, and it wasn't just Indian booths or anything like that. It was everyone, all the cultures coming together and presenting that. I liked that there was different variety of food there. The Hispanic food, the American food, the Chinese, Japanese, Indian, everything was there.
Thai food was there too. I remember having the mango sticky rice. That was amazing.
Oh yeah, sticky rice. Yeah. So there wasn't anything that was not there. Then they had, and I don't know if you mentioned or not yet, but we had the boat races in there in that lake.
I didn't. I wasn't there for the evening, but I did remember that happened.
They did have the boat race, in which they have every year. And that was amazing too. And I've seen, when I went there, I saw the Chinese group sort of boarding those little boats and having their race there. It was just nice to see that too. So culture, it was a beautiful thing to see our cultures together. I like that, because that's where we should be heading at. We should all compromise. We should all work towards, and that's the way I started my nonprofit organization also, for the same reason.
Yes. So please tell us, as we start wrapping this up, about what Step 2 Step Up means for you, why you created an organization that is different from the rest of the organizations which you also represent, and what you hope the next generation can learn from yourself, from your organization, and what they have to look forward from you next.
Okay. So, as you know, I was a finance controller for 30 plus years in various companies. And there were times when I had to fire people, as a controller. Maybe they were not the right fit or whatever that was, but I would always feel sorry for the people that I fired, and most people don't, but I used to, I had this other side of me, and that sort of made me feel really bad for doing things like that, right? But I had no choice at that point, and because I had to see that the company goes to wherever is supposed to go, from the financial standpoint and the status of the company and all that stuff. So that was in my mind all the time, and I thought that one of these days when I retire from my job and finish this part of it, I'm going to start my own nonprofit organization. And I like to view what's going on in the community, in the nation. What are we behind in? What is it that our nation needs? What is it that our children need? And the most important thing that I thought was, number one is we push our children, to go ahead and basically start the go to college and get a college. I'm sure your parents did the same thing. You got to get a college degree. You got to just status thing, right? So where Indians are concerned, we are so focused on that, And so that was, but I saw that once that's done, and the kids, they get out of college, they're stuck with student loans. When we grew up, like when I grew up, I know my parents paid for all of it, and that's not happening over here,
Nope.
Because the kids are on their own now, and they have to figure out how to pay the student loans. So there's a difference in the way we were brought up versus how my kids are going to be brought up, right? So they had to think about their own thing, their own student loans and all that. And I saw that then they would get married, and then she has a loan, he has a loan. And forever I see that the next generation are paying these loans off instead of even thinking about having a house of their own. Would they have a house of their own, or would they have the money to do these little things that needed to be done? So what I did is, I thought I should create an organization that will help our children, young adults, to basically start some entrepreneurial ideas that they have. I want to utilize their ideas and help them to be entrepreneurs. So that will help them while they're in college also to, on the side, have a business of their own and not have to be stressed out, or their families being stressed out with paying these tuition fees and all that. And they are set for their lives too. Once they graduate, they don't have to be stressed out and say, oh, do I have a job or not? Because it doesn't matter. Even if you have a college degree, you may not have a job once you graduate. So you're struggling in I know some of the students have gone and, oh, this wasn't the right thing that I did. Maybe I should go for law now. Maybe I should take this profession, because you're not happy with what you did and you didn't find the job that you thought you would find. And so for that reason, I thought if our kids have the intelligence, which they all do, of figuring out how they can be entrepreneurs, if they have an idea of their own, bring those ideas to me with your passion and all that. And our nonprofit organization is going to help you to build that entrepreneurship. Okay. And when I say that, I mean, whether it's mentorship, whether it's financial help that they need, whatever it is that they need. And whether it's they don't have a computer or they don't have this or that, whatever equipment that they need, we will provide them with that. And our sponsors, basically, the difference between other organizations is that we are going to be very transparent with our financial side of it. And say you're the sponsor, and you're sponsored $5,000 for a certain student. What's going to happen is that this student is basically going to become the entrepreneur. We're going to make sure he does. We train him, motivate him, we make him a good speaker. All of the training that he needs, he's going to be given. And we make sure that he becomes the best entrepreneur. He starts making money. We see money in his bank. We're going to watch him. Okay. So say, for example, I spent $5,000 on this certain kid, and which you donated $5,000 for this child. Okay. And once I see that he has $10,000 in his bank account, I want our children to learn to pay forward. So you got help from somebody. So let's try to help other children. So basically that person that you help, student A has returned his $5,000 back to us because he has double the money in his bank account. So he's giving the money back to help another child, not returning that money back to us, but he can even have a student of his own or some friend of his own and tell us, hey, this is his friend who I really want to help, and this is his problem, and how can we help him? So that's how the money will be rotated from the same $5,000 that you gave has come back to us, right? So it will be rotated through so many, and I don't have to come back again next year to ask you, Priyadarshini, can you donate another $5,000? Because that's my different technique that I've decided to have in my organization. So one person's donation can go a long way, and you can actually help maybe $5,000, $10,000, $20,000. So I really want applications from all the young adults, and please go on our website, and fill in your applications and be a part of this organization and take all the help that we're going to be there. I just want to mention to you that this organization is really for everyone. My kids are going to be white, black, Hispanic, Indian, everyone is going to be in there. So don't hesitate and think that I'm an Indian here who is a CEO, founder of this organization. So it's going to be a promotion for the Indians. No, it's not. Any child that walks in my door, he's going to be helped, just so you know.
Thank you so much, Vasu Auntie, for your contribution to our Indian American and general society living in Los Angeles, for all of the hard work that you put into elevating the next generation so that we are aware of where we come from and also where we are headed. And I wish you all of the best for Step 2 Step Up. We are always in touch, and we always see each other now more after COVID. Yeah. We were always in touch, but the pandemic kind of put a stall on the in-person interactions. Yeah. But Rukus Avenue Radio listeners, this is Priyadarshini G. Roy with the founder and CEO of Step 2 Step Up, community organizer, as well as the organizer for the 41st Lotus Festival that occurred last weekend at Echo Park in Los Angeles. Ms. Vasu Pawar. Vasu Auntie, thank you so much for joining us today. And we look forward to what else you have to offer for our second generation. And we hope to be able to give back to yourself as well and contribute it and pay it forward.
Thank you so much, Priyadarshini. It was my pleasure being here. And I hope we can bring our community together just like the Lotus Festival has.
All right. Thank you so much. Rukus Avenue Radio listeners, this is Priyadarshini G. Roy, your Rukus Avenue Radio correspondent, signing off. Until next time.